Cleopatra is one of the most famous rulers of all time. But here are 10 facts about her you may or may not know. But first, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and hit that bell to see more content. Let's get into it. Cleopatra was not Egyptian by birth, and according to historians, her family origins can be traced back to Macedonia, Greece, and Ptolemy I Solar. Ptolemy I took over Egypt after the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BC, which launched a slew of Greek-speaking rulers for 3 centuries. But even though she wasn't ethnically Egyptian, she fully embraced the culture and its people. According to historians, Cleopatra could speak multiple languages, including Egyptian and Greek. And because she was so wise, she would use whatever advantage she had over her brothers to gain power, wanting to keep ruling over the Egyptian dynasty without interference. Her education and knowledge of the Egyptian culture made her more favorable to the Egyptian people over her brothers. Cleopatra was married to two of her brothers. Ptolemy XIII was the first, who was just 10 at the time, and she was 18. This was to preserve the Ptolemaic bloodline and consolidate their power. In 49 BC, though, Ptolemy XIII and his advisors forced her to flee to Syria. She would then return the following year with mercenaries and face her brother's forces in a civil war at Pelusium. In order to gain Caesar's support, she snuck into the royal palace to plead her case with him. It was then Caesar would war with Ptolemy XIII for 4 months before Caesar's reinforcements arrived and forced Ptolemy to flee, where he drowned in the Nile River. Caesar would restore the throne to an unpopular Cleopatra and her brother Ptolemy XIV, who was 13. Caesar would then remain in Egypt with Cleopatra, where she would give birth to their son Ptolemy Caesar, who was known as Caesarion by the Egyptians, or Little Caesar. According to historians, in 41 BC, Cleopatra met Mark Antony, the Roman triumvir, in Tarsus. The story of their meeting goes as followed. Cleopatra arrived on a golden barge with purple sails and silver oars. She was dressed as the goddess Aphrodite and sat beneath a gilded canopy, while servants dressed as cupids fanned her and burned sweet-smelling incense. Antony, who considered himself the embodiment of the Greek god Dionysus, was instantly charmed, and the pair would later marry. Cleopatra gave birth to twins Alexander Helios, meaning sun, and Cleopatra Selene, meaning moon. The Inimitable Livers was a drinking society formed by Cleopatra and Mark Antony to honor the god Dionysus. The group would have nightly feasts and drinking parties, and the couple would roam the streets of Egypt wearing disguises and pulling pranks on the local inhabitants. She once pranked Antony by telling him that she could spend 10 million sesterces on one dinner, or $10 million today. Antony accepted, and that night had what was considered a normal meal. Thinking he had won, Cleopatra then had her servant bring a cup of strong vinegar, where she dropped her massive pearl earring into the cup, watched it dissolve, and drank it, winning the bet. On September 2nd, 31 BC, Emperor Octavian's forces defeated the combined forces of Antony and Cleopatra in the Battle of Actium. Octavian wanted Antony to prove his loyalty by having him marry Octavia, Octavian's half-sister. Even though Antony would marry her, he would go back to Egypt to be with Cleopatra, angering Octavian, who declared war on the both of them. In the battle, Cleopatra's ships deserted the fight and fled to Egypt. Antony managed to break away from the fight as well and followed her ships. But after hearing the rumor Cleopatra died, Antony fell on his sword, dying just as he got the news the report was false. On August 12th, 30 BC, after burying Antony, Cleopatra locked herself in her chamber with two of her servants, and although the cause of her death is uncertain, historian Plutarch and others said Cleopatra used a poisonous snake such as an asp to bite her, ending her life. Although the location of Cleopatra's tomb is unknown, many Egyptologists believe that her tomb is located just outside of ancient Egypt's capital, Alexandria. Egyptologists say that it's under the Toposiris Magna Temple, better known as the Temple of Osiris, and in 2019 the claims were intensified with the finding of mummies and coins of Cleopatra and Antony. However, Hawaz retracted on his hypothesis by saying Egyptians used temples for worship and not burial. In November of 2022, Kathleen Martinez announced that they found a 6 feet high tunnel 43 feet under the tomb of Osiris that she hopes is the entrance to Cleopatra's tomb. However, it may just be an aqueduct because portions of the tunnel are under the Mediterranean Sea. Cleopatra researched methods of keeping herself healthy and strong. Calling her papers cosmetics, the papers showed ancient Egyptian methods and a variety of remedies for common health issues like dandruff and hair loss. Cleopatra used makeup made from coal, which was grounded in a pestle and mortar, then mixed with oils or animal fat. The coal was then applied around the eyes using a stick. Egyptians believed that wearing certain makeups would serve them protection from the gods and keep them from falling ill. They believed that thick eyeliner trend during this time would help prevent particular eye infections that could cause blindness. Cleopatra is still regarded as one of the most influential rulers of all time. In fact, Cleopatra is the subject of many plays, songs, and movies, including Shakespeare's writing of Antony and Cleopatra. And in 1963, with a budget of $31.1 million, it was one of the most expensive Cleopatra movies ever made, starring Elizabeth Taylor. There have also been comics, beauty products, as well as music bearing the name Cleopatra or having the topic be about Cleopatra. Thank you so much for watching 10 Facts About Cleopatra. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, comment, and share with your friends. I'll see you in the next video.